Part 1. The Perfect Sister. I always thought my sister, Emily, was my biggest supporter. You know how in movies, there's always that one person the main character can call at 3 a.m., crying, and they'll drop everything to be there? That was Emily for me. My ride or die. My in case of emergency contact. My moral compass, my cheerleader, my best friend. Or so I thought. Growing up, it was just the two of us and our parents in a small suburban town in Pennsylvania. Emily was 2 years older, and she had this almost magnetic personality. Confident without being arrogant, compassionate without being naive. I was the quiet one, the shy, bookish younger brother who often trailed behind her like a shadow. She didn't mind. She'd call me my little duckling because, as she put it, I followed her everywhere. When I got bullied in middle school, she stepped in. I'll never forget the time she confronted this kid, Jason, who shoved me into a locker. She marched right up to him in the cafeteria, poured a carton of chocolate milk over his head, and told him if he touched me again, she'd make sure every girl in school knew about the time he cried during a movie in 5th grade. He never touched me again. In high school, when I didn't make the basketball team, she was there with ice cream and bad jokes. When I got my first heartbreak, she stayed up all night with me, listening to my ranting about how love was a scam and making fun of rom-coms on Netflix. She was my person. And even when life pulled us in different directions, college, jobs, relationships, we stayed close. Emily became a nurse, working long, exhausting hours in the ER. Yet she always seemed to have time for me. We texted almost every day. She'd send memes, random life updates, sometimes a single emoji that I instantly understood. When I bought my first apartment last year, she was the first to show up with a housewarming gift. A tacky, live, laugh, love wall sign that she swore was ironic. She helped me move furniture, stocked my fridge, and even spent a Saturday afternoon helping me put together IKEA shelves. She joked that my apartment looked like a minimalist serial killer's lair and insisted we go shopping for throw pillows. So yeah, Emily was perfect, or at least that's what I believed. The first crack in that image happened on a rainy Thursday night in February. I had just finished dinner and was aimlessly scrolling through Reddit. I'm not a huge Reddit guy. Mostly I browse for tech news, movie discussions, or the occasional weird meme. But that night, boredom led me into the r/relationships rabbit hole. I like reading other people's drama. It's like watching reality TV without the guilt. That's when I saw it. The title was My 29F Brother, 27M, is Destroying My Life and My Relationship. I don't know what to do anymore. At first, I didn't think much of it. People post family drama all the time. But something about the age and sibling dynamic caught my attention. I clicked, curiosity piqued, and then I started reading. My brother and I used to be close, but over the last year, he's become manipulative, selfish, and emotionally abusive. He constantly undermines me, criticizes my choices, and has even tried to sabotage my relationship with my fiancée. I froze. The words felt like ice water down my spine. I kept reading, my heart pounding in my ears. For example, last month, I invited him over for dinner to meet my fiancée properly. Instead of being polite, he spent the whole evening making snide comments about our apartment, mocking our plans for the wedding, and questioning my fiancé's career. He even implied that my fiancée was only with me for my money. It was humiliating. I blinked. No, no, that wasn't how it happened. That dinner had been fine. Awkward, maybe, but fine. I had made a light-hearted joke about their apartment being cozy. It was small. And I had asked her fiancé about his work because I was genuinely interested. There was no implying anything about money. The way she wrote it made me sound like some jealous, bitter creep. I kept scrolling. He has a way of twisting things so that I look crazy when I call him out. My parents don't believe me. They think he's still the sweet, shy little brother he always was. But I see the truth. He's toxic, and I don't know how to handle it without losing my family. By the time I reached the end, my hands were shaking. The username wasn't Emily or anything obvious, but the details were too specific. Our ages, the dinner, even the fact that she'd just gotten engaged, something she'd announced 2 months ago. It was her. It had to be. My chest felt tight. This had to be a mistake. Maybe she was venting and exaggerated for internet strangers? Maybe it was some kind of creative writing experiment? My sister wouldn't just lie like this. Not about me. I clicked her profile, and my stomach dropped even further. There were more posts, dozens of them. Some recent, some from months ago, all with eerily familiar details. Titles like, "My brother is sabotaging my career. How do I deal with a narcissistic sibling? When your own family turns on you." Each one painted me as some kind of villain, lazy, jealous, manipulative, cruel. She even mentioned incidents from years ago, twisting them into something unrecognizable. That time I forgot her birthday when I was swamped with finals? In her version, I intentionally ignored her special day out of spite. The time I couldn't lend her money because I was broke? She claimed I refused to help during her darkest moment while blowing cash on luxury items. I had bought a $60 secondhand gaming chair. The most gut-punching part? The comments. Hundreds of strangers piling on, calling me trash, a parasite. The kind of family you cut off without hesitation. People telling her to go no contact. People offering to help her move far away from her abusive brother. I felt sick. I didn't confront her right away. I didn't even know what to say. Part of me wanted to call her and scream, demand an explanation. Another part wanted to pretend I'd never seen it because what if the explanation was worse than I imagined? I shut my laptop and sat in the dark, listening to the rain against the window. My mind replayed every interaction we'd had over the past year, now through a different lens. Was she always this fake? Were those supportive sister moments real, or just stories she could later post about? I barely slept that night, and in the morning I made a decision. I was going to find out exactly how deep this went. Part 2. The Lies Unfold. The next morning, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at my laptop like it was a bomb I didn't want to touch. The sunlight streaming through the blinds made the screen's white background almost blinding, but I couldn't look away. My coffee had gone cold. My toast sat untouched. My phone buzzed with a good morning text from Emily. "Hope you have a great day today. Sun yellow heart." The irony was almost unbearable. It would have been so easy to just ignore everything, delete my Reddit app, pretend I'd never seen her posts. I could keep our relationship as it was, at least on the surface. But the thing was, I knew myself too well. The second I found out someone was lying about me, I couldn't stop until I knew the whole truth. So I clicked back to her profile. The more I scrolled, the more my stomach churned. There were posts from over a year ago, even before her engagement, and each one was a little breadcrumb I hadn't realized I'd dropped in her life. She'd twisted every argument, every minor misunderstanding, into proof that I was emotionally manipulative. Things I barely remembered were reimagined into soap opera drama. One post from 11 months ago made my jaw clench. I love my brother, but he's starting to scare me. He has these outbursts when things don't go his way. Last week, I asked to borrow his car, and he completely lost it, shouting, slamming doors, telling me I was selfish for even asking. I feel unsafe being around him sometimes. That was a complete fabrication. Yes, she asked to borrow my car, but at the time I'd been using it to drive to a temporary construction job, one I desperately needed because I'd been laid off. I told her I couldn't lend it. She'd sighed and said, "Never mind." That was it.
No shouting. No slamming doors.
I clicked into the comments. People were telling her to report me to the police, to keep her distance, to never be alone with him again. She replied with, "I know. It's just hard because he's my brother," like she was some tragic heroine trapped in a toxic bond. By the time I'd gone through 10 or so posts, I was shaking, not with fear, but with pure white-hot anger. My mind was screaming questions. Why? What was she getting out of this? Did she actually believe her own lies? I opened a blank document and started copying the URLs of her posts, screenshotting each one. I wasn't sure yet what I'd do with them, but I needed to preserve them in case she deleted anything. Around noon, I noticed a pattern. She always posted late at night between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m., and often on days when we'd had some kind of interaction, however minor. If we hadn't spoken for a while, there were fewer posts. It was like she needed fresh material to keep her audience engaged. Her audience. That's when it hit me. She wasn't just venting. Some posts had awards, the little Reddit medals people buy with real money. And in a couple of threads, I saw comments like, "DM me your Venmo. I want to send you something to treat yourself after all this." She always replied with a heart emoji and something like, "You don't have to, but that's so kind," pleading face yellow heart. I felt sick. She was monetizing this, turning me into a villain in her little online drama for sympathy cash. That afternoon, I called Mom. I didn't mention the Reddit posts, not yet, but I asked casually if Emily had ever said anything negative about me. Mom hesitated. That pause told me everything. "Well," she said slowly, "you know your sister. She worries about you. She's mentioned you've been moody lately, that maybe you don't like her fiancé." "Moody," I repeated, my voice flat. "She says you've been critical of her choices." Mom added gently, as if she was bracing for my reaction. I told her I didn't see it that way, but maybe you two just need to talk things out. I thanked her, ended the call, and stared at the wall. So Emily had been planting seeds offline too, not just for strangers on the internet, but in our own family. Over the next week, I became obsessed. Every night, I'd check her profile, looking for new posts. I noticed she'd started getting more attention lately. Some posts had hundreds of upvotes. She wrote in this crafted, emotionally raw style that made people immediately take her side. One night, I found the post that broke something in me. "I tried to talk to my brother today to set boundaries. He laughed in my face. He said I was being dramatic, that my relationship problems were all in my head. I'm done trying. If my parents won't believe me, maybe they'll understand when I'm gone. The implication was clear. She was hinting at suicide, and it was tied to me. The comments exploded with outrage. People begged her to cut me off. A few even said they'd deal with me if they could. I stared at the screen, my pulse in my ears, imagining what would happen if one of those strangers somehow found my real identity. This wasn't just lies anymore. This was dangerous. That weekend, we had a family dinner planned at my parents' house. I decided I'd watch her closely, see if she slipped up. When Emily arrived, she was her usual warm, bubbly self. She hugged me, complimented my shirt, asked about work. If I hadn't known better, I'd have thought she genuinely cared. But halfway through dinner, I caught her glancing at her phone under the table, thumbs moving quickly. A familiar late-night posting energy. I couldn't help but wonder if she was live-updating Reddit about the evening while sitting 2 feet from me. Later that night, I checked. Sure enough, there was a brand new post. Just had dinner with my family. My brother spent most of it making passive-aggressive comments and ignoring me. I tried to be polite, but it's exhausting pretending everything's fine. I read it twice, my forked rage splitting in two. Part of me furious at the outright lie, part of me chilled at how seamless the performance was. She could smile in my face, ask about my job, laugh at my jokes, and then, hours later, tell hundreds of strangers I was cold and cruel. And the worst part? They believed her. That was the night I decided this wasn't going to stay between us anymore. I was going to confront her. But first, I needed proof she couldn't twist into another story where she was the victim. Part 3. The confrontation. I knew I couldn't just storm into Emily's apartment and start yelling. That's exactly what she'd want. An explosive scene she could spin into another dramatic post about her abusive brother. So I decided to do it smart. For the next 2 weeks, I gathered everything. Screenshots of her posts, timestamps that matched real-life events, instances where she recycled the same story with different details to make me look worse. I even recorded some of our phone calls, nothing illegal, just brief snippets where she was overly friendly, to contrast with the claims she was making online at the same time. By the end, I had a thick folder on my laptop labeled E_proof. But even with all that, I wasn't sure how to bring it up without her wriggling out of it. Emily had always been quick on her feet. She could turn an accusation into an attack on you before you'd even finished your sentence. I needed witnesses. That opportunity came sooner than I expected. Mom texted one Saturday morning, "Dinner at our place tonight? Emily's bringing Jake." Jake was her fiancé. I didn't know him well. He was polite, kind of quiet, but he looked at Emily like she was the sun. I'd never had a problem with him, though apparently in her Reddit world, I hated him and thought he was a gold digger. Perfect. If I confronted her with him and my parents present, she couldn't just rewrite the story later without someone noticing. That night, I showed up early. My parents were bustling around the kitchen, arguing about seasoning for the roast. I sat at the table, waiting, feeling the weight of the folder on the flash drive in my pocket. Emily arrived right on time, Jake in tow. She looked normal, smiling, hugging Mom, handing over a bottle of wine. No sign of guilt. We sat down to eat. Small talk, weather, work. Emily told a story about a patient at the hospital who tried to flirt with her while bleeding from the forehead. Everyone laughed. I waited until plates were half empty before I spoke. Emily, I said, keeping my tone casual, I found something online the other night that I think we should talk about. She glanced up, fork midair. Oh, what's that? I took out my phone and opened the folder of screenshots. This, I said, sliding it across the table to her. She frowned, swiping once, twice, and then she froze. The air shifted, like the moment before a thunderclap. I don't know what this is, she said, her voice flat. It's your Reddit account, I replied. Your posts, all about me, all lies. Her eyes flicked up to mine. In that split second, I saw something, not guilt exactly, but calculation. Jake glanced between us. What's going on? Emily set the phone down. My God, you're paranoid, she said, half laughing. Reddit? Really? Anyone can post there. Anyone could make something up. Not with exact details about our lives, I said. Our ages, the dinner at your apartment, the time you asked to borrow my car. You think that's just coincidence? Mom looked bewildered. Emily, is this true? She shook her head. Of course not. He's twisting things, like he always does. I took a deep breath. You know what's interesting? The timestamps. Almost all your posts are made right after we've seen each other. And in some cases, I pulled the flash drive from my pocket. I have recordings of us talking at the same time you claim I was yelling at you. You sound perfectly fine, laughing even. That rattled her. For the first time, her composure slipped. Jake shifted uncomfortably. Emily? She turned to him. You're not seriously believing this, are you? He's been against us since the beginning. I've been against being lied about, I shot back. Do you even realize what you've been doing? You're letting strangers on the internet think I'm abusive. Some of them have threatened me, Emily. People I've never met want to hurt me because of what you've said. She opened her mouth, closed it, then smirked. So what? Maybe now you know how I felt for years. That stunned me into silence. What are you talking about? I asked. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. You think you've been the perfect brother? You've always had this subtle way of making me feel small. Like my choices are stupid, my life's a joke. You never say it outright, but it's there. I just finally decided to tell my side of the story. By making things up, I demanded. Her eyes hardened. By telling the truth in a way people will actually listen to. For a second, no one spoke. My parents looked shocked. Jake looked confused, maybe even betrayed. I said quietly, Emily, you could have just talked to me. She shrugged. Talking doesn't get you hundreds of people telling you you're right. Talking doesn't get you help. The word help caught my attention. Help? You mean money? Her jaw tightened. That was it. You've been taking donations from strangers, I said, playing the victim for cash. That's all this is, isn't it? Her face went red. It's none of your business. It's absolutely my business when you're destroying my reputation to get it. Jake stood up. Emily, is that true? She didn't answer, which in its own way was the loudest answer of all. Mom's voice was shaky. Emily, why would you do something like this to your own brother? Emily pushed her chair back abruptly. You know what? I'm done here. She grabbed her purse, Jake trailing after her, still asking questions she didn't answer. The door slammed. After they left, I sat there, staring at my plate. My hands were still trembling, from anger, from adrenaline, from the sheer disbelief that this was my sister. Mom tried to say something, but I cut her off. I'm not letting her keep doing this. Dad, who'd been quiet the whole time, finally spoke. What are you going to do? I looked at the flash drive in my hand. Tell the truth, I said. Part of me knew this was going to blow our family apart. But another part knew there was no way back to the life I had before seeing that first post. And Emily? She wasn't going to stop until I stopped her. Part 4. The truth goes public. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my desk until sunrise, the flash drive plugged into my laptop, scrolling through the screenshots, listening to the recordings, replaying the confrontation over and over in my head. Every time I thought about Emily's smirk when she said, "Talking doesn't get you hundreds of people telling you you're right," something in me twisted. This wasn't just sibling drama anymore. This was defamation. This was calculated. At 5:43 a.m., I made my decision. If she was going to tell her side of the story to thousands of strangers, I was going to tell mine with evidence. I didn't want to just dump it all on my personal social media. Too messy. Too many mutual acquaintances who'd inevitably take sides. This had to be on her turf. Reddit. I created a brand new account. No identifying username. No personal info. I spent hours writing my post. I didn't rant. I didn't insult her. I laid out the facts like a case file. The screenshots of her posts alongside the real events with dates and times. Audio clips of our conversations that directly contradicted her claims. Screenshots of her thanking strangers for sending her money to help her escape her abusive brother. Evidence of her recycling the same stories with small changes to keep her audience hooked. At the end, I wrote, "I didn't want to do this. She's my sister. I love her. But when your own family lies about you to the point strangers threaten your safety, you either speak up or you let it destroy you. I hope she gets the help she needs. I just can't let her lies be the only story people hear anymore." When I hit post, my hands were shaking. I closed the laptop and tried to eat something, but my stomach was in knots. By the time I checked again an hour later, the post had exploded. Hundreds of comments. People who'd followed her account for months were in shock. Some admitted they'd sent her money. Others said they'd cut off siblings based on her advice and now felt sick. I didn't name her account directly in the body of the post, but the screenshots made it obvious. Within hours, her profile was locked down. All her posts disappeared, but it was too late. People had archived everything. There were mirror posts, discussions in other subreddits. Some users went digging and found her Venmo and Patreon links. The sympathy she'd cultivated for over a year evaporated almost overnight. That afternoon, my phone blew up. First from Jake. "Jake, I can't believe this. I thought I knew her. Jake, we're done. I can't be with someone who lies like that." Then from Mom. "Mom, you couldn't have handled this privately?" Me, "I tried." She denied everything. "Mom, now the whole family's embarrassed. Your aunt just called me crying." I didn't reply to that one. Mom still didn't get it. This wasn't about embarrassment. It was about survival. By evening, Emily texted me. At first, I didn't want to open it, but curiosity won. Emily, hope you're happy. You ruined my life. Me, you did that yourself. Emily, you think this makes you the good guy? Everyone's going to know how vindictive you are. Me, I didn't lie. That's the difference. No reply after that. The fallout spread faster than I expected. Jake's breakup with her was public. He posted something vague about dishonesty on his Instagram story, but people connected the dots. A couple of Emily's close friends unfollowed her. Word got around at her hospital. Apparently, a coworker recognized one of the stories she'd posted about me because Emily had once told it in the break room. By the end of the week, she'd deleted most of her social media. Her number was disconnected. She didn't show up to our parents' house for Sunday dinner. Mom kept calling me, asking me to fix things. But what was there to fix? You can't glue trust back together after it's been ground into dust. One night, about 2 weeks later, I got an email from a burner address. No greeting, no sign-off. Just a short message. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I just wanted people to listen to me for once. I stared at it for a long time. Could have replied. I could have told her I understood that maybe she felt overshadowed, that maybe she thought no one cared about her problems unless she dramatized them. I could have offered to meet, to talk, to try to rebuild something. Instead, I closed the email. It's been 3 months now. I haven't heard from Emily. Mom still thinks I should have handled it differently. Dad stays out of it. Jake and I grab a beer sometimes, but we don't talk about her. And me? I've learned something I wish I hadn't, that the people who know you best can cut you deepest. Not with what they say to your face, but with what they whisper behind your back. I don't regret telling the truth. I just regret that it had to be about my own sister.